The man behind the door in the small town of Halebridge, Georgia, nestled between wide fields and time-worn houses, there lived an old gang of white supremacists known as the Iron Sons. Though smaller and quieter than they were in their prime, they still met in secret barns, still whispered hate, and still operated under the belief that purity of race meant purity of purpose for years. Halebridge had kept its diversity to a minimum. The town unofficially discouraged black families from settling through rising rent costs, denied home loans, and the occasional burned cross that reminded people of the rules. But in the spring of 2025, the Carter family moved into the abandoned farmhouse just off Route 9. No one had dared live there for a decade until Thomas Carter, a tall, broad-shouldered black man in his early 40s, his wife Dana, and their 2 young children arrived. At first, it was quiet. Too quiet. The Iron Sons watched. They took note of the children's laughter. They hated the flowers Dana planted. They seethed at the sight of Thomas fixing the roof and waving to passers-by. Then they planned late one night. They gathered in a pickup truck, faces covered with bandanas, torches in hand. Their plan was simple: scare them out, break windows, leave a burning cross on the lawn, spray hateful graffiti, maybe even rough Thomas up if he fought back. They convinced themselves it was just sending a message, but things didn't go as planned as they approached the house. They noticed Thomas already standing on the porch, arms crossed, waiting. He didn't look scared. He didn't even flinch, turn around and leave. Thomas said calmly. The leader of the group, a man named Hank, stepped forward. "You don't belong here. This town ain't for people like you." Thomas didn't raise his voice. "I belong wherever I decide to make my home." One of the younger gang members, eager to prove himself, lunged. Thomas moved faster than anyone expected. In one swift motion, he had the attacker on the ground, pinned. It wasn't violence. It was training. Discipline. Control. The others stepped back. "You were in the military," Hank muttered. Startled, Thomas looked him in the eyes. "More than that. But you didn't bother to find out, did you just then?" Dana stepped outside. She held up a phone. "I've called the police. They're almost here." The Iron Sons froze. Then Thomas added, "But before they arrive, let me show you something." He turned and walked into the house. Something in his calm demeanor compelled them to follow. Some stayed on the porch. Some peeked through the windows. Inside, framed on the wall beside a bookshelf, was a large photograph. It was Thomas, shaking hands with the President of the United States. Another photo showed him in full uniform U.S. Army Special Forces, decorated with a Medal of Honor. Dana stepped closer to the glass. Thomas served 3 tours overseas. He saved 12 soldiers from a burning vehicle in Kandahar. He lost part of his leg, has a prosthetic now. That didn't stop him from continuing to serve. "This country. Your country." Silence. One of the gang members, the youngest, barely 20, began to cry. I didn't know." Thomas stood before them again. "You judged me by the color of my skin, not the content of my life. That's the weakness in your ideology. It blinds you to the truth. The truth that I've protected people like you, bled for people like you. And you'd still rather burn my house down than shake my hand." The sirens grew louder in the distance. Hank dropped his torch. Others followed. No one spoke. No one ran. Some of them, especially the younger ones, just stood there, the weight of shame crushing them. When the police arrived, Thomas told them exactly what had happened, but he added, "They didn't hurt us. They didn't get the chance. Maybe they'll learn something from this." Only 2 of the men were arrested that night. The rest were let go with a warning, but none of them ever returned to that house again in time. Some of them came back, not with hate, but with questions. Some apologized. some cried. A few even helped rebuild the broken parts of the porch, silently nailing away the damage they had once intended to cause. And Halebridge changed slowly, stubbornly, but surely.